Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. We got a really awesome, very unique player to chat with us today. I'm here with three-time Grammy Award winner Mark Lettieri from Snarky Puppy, and he's also got the Mark Lettieri Trio. He's an amazing player. He's very unique in his style. I can't even describe. How do you describe your style? It's like rock, jazz, and just really intense.
Thanks, man. There's rock in there. There's blues. There's a lot of funk and R&B.
Yes.
And there's jazz in a certain sense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a jazz guitarist, but there's jazz influence in there. You know, it's definitely a marriage of rock energy and R&B and funk kind of groove, but then there's some jazz harmony in there. So
thank you. I needed that.
There you go.
For that.
Put a bow on it.
The thing that is the most prominent is the funk, actually, because it's really cool. In a good pocket and a really good groove. So
thanks.
Let me tell you about Mark if you don't know him. Mark joined Snarky Puppy in 2008. He's one of the guitar players as well as arranger and composer. The band's earned 3 Grammy Awards, Best R&B Performance for Something featuring Lala Hathaway in 2014, and twice for Best Contemporary Instrumental Album, which was Silva in 2016 and Culture Vulture, one of the best album titles around in 2017. They tour constantly and they perform on every continent except Antarctica, and I hear they got an Antarctica gig brewing right now.
Oh, I hope
so. For the 4 people that live there.
Right, a bunch of scientists.
Yeah, they deserve Snarky Puppy too.
Absolutely.
Outside of Snarky Puppy, Mark's released 3 albums as a band leader of a trio. The albums are Nose in 2011, that's Knows, Future Fun in 2013, and most recently Spark and Echo in 2016. Spark and Echo climbed to number 11 on Billboard's Jazz Albums chart and number 2 on iTunes Jazz chart. Mark also performs. That is the Mark. Were your albums with you as a trio or? I title them as me, the artist. The trio is sort of the live interpretation of the studio records. Great, thank you for correcting me. And if you haven't seen Mark on social media, check him out. He's got some really just tremendous performances there, and he has some freaking awesome musicians on his team. I mean, just tremendous rhythm section there.
Yeah.
As a touring sideband, Mark's toured with Erykah Badu. Did I say that name right?
Erykah Badu, yeah.
Badu, yeah. Okay. Gospels, I always mess that up. The gospel singer, Anthony, all I do is think of her big thing.
Well, it's not even a real name, so that's okay.
All I do is I think of her, like whatever that thing is on her head. I mean, she's been around a while since I was a kid, and I've always saw that.
Sure, yeah.
Gospel singer Anthony Evans and American Idol Season 11 winner Philip Phillips. He's also performed with comedians Dave Chappelle and Harry Shearer. As a session player, Mark's worked with, check this out, David Crosby, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Adam Levine, Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, Tori Kelly, Eric Roberson, Lupe Fiasco, Exhibit, as well as numerous radio and television jingles. He's also a member of SKP, a production collective led by Grammy Award-winning producer Symbolic One, who works with Kanye West and Beyonce. Mark's also on television in the house band for The Marcus and Joni Show, which is a Christian morning talk and variety show broadcast in over 200 countries on the Daystar Television Network. Man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Craig. Thanks, man.
And this guy's also a hustler and a go-getter, which is I think that's going to be the new theme for this show. Hustlers only.
There you go.
Hey, you joined Snarky Puppy in 2008, and I think the band had been around 3 years at that point. And I was curious how that whole thing came about.
Right. They started, I think playing in like 2004 maybe. The band started up at the University of North Texas. They were all students up there, and I got involved with them through Michael League, the bass player. Let me see. I got to go way back and figure this out.
Way back. Here's the problem. It's like half your life. For me, back. It's like a bump.
Right, exactly. He and I got in touch through this other fella from Dallas, this guy named Philip Lassiter, who went on to be the horn leader for Prince's horn section right before Prince passed. And anyway, so Philip was a songwriter and arranger and had a band in Dallas, and I was playing in Philip's band. And Philip found this band, Snarky Puppy, and we started doing shows together. And then Michael and I started doing a lot of sessions together in the gospel scene in Dallas. And so he asked me to come play on their record that they did in 2008. And so I did like a little, I guess you'd call it a feature or something. It's like 16 or 32 bars of just me stacked like 5 times playing rhythm guitar with nothing else. So it's kind of neat. Yeah. And then about a year later, they started calling me for gigs just because the other 2 guys weren't available at the time.
Great.
So yeah, I was like a sub, before I was actually like in the band.
But you know how many people get their permanent slots like that? It's like
probably most people.
Yeah, it's like probably 50% of the situations I've spoken to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's great. And so then they just they just added you.
Yeah, and that's kind of how anyone who wasn't in the original like 6 or whatever it was has been integrated into the group. It was just like we needed someone to fill a slot, and then it was like, oh, well, actually, this guy's really awesome. Let's just put him on as many gigs as we can. So that's why we have 4 or 5 keyboard players and 3 percussionists and 3 guitar players and 3 drummers and several horns. I think the only guy that's at every show is Michael, really. And there have even been shows when he almost wasn't going to go, and like we were going to have to get a sub bass player, or I was going to have to play bass or something like that. That's
Well, that's cool, man. And did you go to North Texas?
No, I went to TCU, Texas Christian University. Yeah, so about 45 minutes from North Texas. DFW is kind of a neat place, man. You have Denton at the top, and then you have Fort Worth to the west, and Dallas to the east, and it's just like this big. Well, they call it the Metroplex, for a reason, but it's just, and each city kind of has its own style of living, but then also like kinds of music that are popular there. So it's really neat. It's a neat place to be.
That's cool.
It really is. Yeah.
Because North Texas is like a music school. They're recognized for that, right?
They have a really prestigious jazz program. Yeah. When I was at school down to TCU, I just knew of North Texas as the school that had the really crappy football team. Like I didn't even know
coming
they
from
had
TCU.
Yeah, I mean, we were just beating the pants off them every year, and I didn't even know that they had a music program until I had already finished school, and I was meeting all these guys at jam sessions in Dallas that are like, "Oh yeah, I went to UNT." I was like, "The football with the team? It was terrible." Oh, cool, you got a jazz school, nice. They were maybe I was a bit of a sports snob or something, but.
So as you just mentioned, Snarky Puppy's a big band. There's a lot of members. So I had a couple of questions. One is, what is managing that thing like? I mean, that's not easy.
Well, thankfully, I don't really have to deal with any of that stuff. My contributions are strictly musical. We have a manager. We have there's like a staff kind of that corrals us all. But in the early days, I think it was just kind of like everyone believed in it and really wanted to be a part of it. And so we would make the necessary sacrifices and things to, figure out how to make it work. There's a lot of diplomacy, of course, because everybody wants to be able to do shows, but knows that not everyone can do every show.
Yeah.
Because we can't tour with 17 people.
Right.
So that's kind of been one of the things that's always been kind of special about the band, that a lot of people don't really understand how it could work. But we've just sort of been blessed to have a group of guys that are pretty humble and not really like, they don't totally get their feathers ruffled if they don't get to do every show. They just know that you have to share, and it's kind of the way it is. So I think that's kind of the way that it's been working for as long as it has. And there is sort of an open door policy. Like if someone wants to go, for 2 months and just do their own stuff, 3-4 months, whatever, they can always come back.
Okay.
I don't think anyone ever gets fired. They just quit.
So that's a pretty unique situation there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think the other thing that helps is everybody in that band is seriously talented.
Sure.
And I think that the respect levels I would imagine that you all have for each other is very high.
Yeah.
So that keeps it. Yeah. That's cool. With so many people, do you guys record old school, like all in the studio at once, or do you record separate tracks, or a little of both, or how's that work?
A little bit of both. Up until 2008, all the records were done in the studio. And so most of those I wasn't even part of, so sure. I just assumed they just did them how they did them. But in 2009, we started doing them all live, and that's the stuff that you probably saw on YouTube, where everyone was in this. We all had headphones, and there was a crowd. And we did that for just about I think every single record. Okay, this cat is freaking out.
We're having a cat issue. No problem.
Cat issues.
Happens from time to time. Everyone loves guitar.
He's rolling and eating this thing I have to mail, but that's okay. I'll put it in another envelope. Anyway,
hopefully it's your tax return.
Yeah, right. No, that's on the other end of the desk. What was I going to say? Oh, so we did all these live records in front of an audience with I think there were quite a few people on some of those. As far as personnel, some of them, one of them had an orchestra. But then this last record, Culture Vulture, was done in the studio. But most of those tracks were recorded live, and then we would just do overdubs as needed, like the horns and then the guitar solos or something like that. So we do try to do everything, pretty organically. I mean, and I do my records kind of the same way. I make sure all the drums and bass and stuff are all recorded while we're just jamming. And then you just kind of add the layers as needed,
Yeah, I was going to ask you how your trio stuff.
Yeah.
You're a super talented player and composer.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. And I was wondering if one of the things that prompts you to release solo records and tour with your trio is to expand your musical palette, if you want to call that, beyond what you do with Snarky Puppy. And I don't mean that like they limit you. I meant that you're a talented guy and you're musically curious and musically ambitious. And I was curious if that's why, what the motivating factor was for you to start your own gig in the trio.
I've always wanted to do it. I think I would do it if I wasn't doing Snarky Puppy, just because I have a certain sound to my writing that I think I do.
Yeah.
That can only really be manifested in the way that I choose to do it. Mm-hmm. And, with Snarky Puppy, everyone is open to write tunes, but there's a lot of writers in the band and it can be a tough band to write for, because there's a lot of moving parts. And so I think just when I sit down to compose music, most of it just sounds like Mark Lettieri music.
Yeah.
So I figure, why not just do it?
No, good for you.
As soon as I heard Joe Satriani when I was 13, I started writing instrumental guitar music.
Yeah.
I've been doing it that long. And there's probably cassettes piled up at my parents' house that my mom keeps trying to get rid of, and I'm like, no, Mom, there might be some gold record riffs on there. You never know.
Absolutely.
And so that was that way of composing music. It just made sense to me very early on. And I've always been influenced by guys who are similar and girls who are similar to doing that, And so I think the Lettieri thing is just something that was bound to happen. It's just that now I think I'm in a place as a player and as a writer and a businessman,
right?
In the sense that I can kind of push it a little bit and see if it'll go somewhere,
You have something out now. And I'm embarrassed that I don't know the name of it. You've put it out a couple of times on like Instagram. Tell me what you put out recently.
I'm trying to think.
It's
the Fearless Flyers.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Holy shit. That is really, really, really nice, man.
Thanks, man. That was a fun couple days. Yeah.
That was fun listening to it, man. That is just amazing stuff, man.
Thanks.
And it's interesting. You do have a very specific and unique sound, and your voice, your musical voice is very unique. I have never heard anybody do anything like that, and it's just you don't usually get that much funk and groove out of a guitar player. Out of one, you're the only guy in the band.
Well,
no, I'm in your trio.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, it's not like you've got a rhythm guy and in you, so it's tough to create that.
I think half of my influences on guitar are rhythm guitar players. Or they're like lead players who are great rhythm guitar players. And I always loved the Band of Gypsies records or the record. Yeah. That Hendrix kind of thing. I always loved Van Halen, which is essentially a power trio.
Yep.
I think I don't play like Eddie at all, but how he can go seamlessly between leads and the rhythm is like so funky. Yeah. People don't realize how funky a guitar player Eddie Van Halen is because they think he's a rock guy, but that stuff swings so hard.
See, I've never noticed it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to lie about
that. I mean, if you really listen to what he's doing, that is some R&B guitar playing. It's just with a lot of gain.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was super cool.
Yeah.
And so doing it in the trio, like for me, it's like, I don't have to solo the whole gig like that, you know.
No, you don't, but you have really good, the melodies that are going on and the you know what it is too, I think, your guys that you're with are so good.
Well, they're definitely a big help.
Holy shit! But you would think you guys have been playing together 10 years. I mean, maybe you have you?
Well, we've been playing the let me see. The Wes and JT, the fellas normally play. I'll just give their full names: Wes Stevenson, bass player, and Jason Thomas, drums. They've been on all my records. And but we've played together in various other things in the scene here for quite a while. And so when I wanted to do my first record, I just called two of my favorite players, and the three of us had never played together. Yeah, it's it's a cool thing.
Yeah, you get some magic.
Really cool thing. Yeah. So and they definitely pick my ass up a lot. when I'm stumbling.
No, but you guys all sound great. It's a real nice. Yeah, I think sometimes it's really hard to make a trio. I think there's a lot of pressure in a way for a band that's a trio because you're very vulnerable.
Right.
You know, there's not a lot of cover-ups.
Yeah.
You know, I saw Santana down here, I don't know, like 10 years ago. We were really lucky. We had like second or third or fourth row seats. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, I'd never had seats like that before. But he had like 12, like Snarky Puppy,
sure.
like, 12, 14 people up there. If somebody makes a mistake there, you know what? No one's going to know. But right. I think there's a lot of pressure in your particular situation because all three guys are very vital to the end product.
Right.
Yeah, and the execution is flawless. So whatever you're doing, man, congratulations. You're doing it great.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so I talked about before how you're a hustler and you're really busy, and I was curious, and that's, as I said, one of the things I really like about you. Where does that come from?
I think it just comes from the way I was raised. Not to say that my parents were strict or crazy or anything like that, but growing up where I did, there was kind of like a expectation of youth there to do a lot of stuff and to have a lot on your plate and to be busy. And what I mean by all that is I grew up in the Silicon Valley area of San Francisco Bay Area, where, I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe this. It was totally acceptable and sort of expected that as a high school kid, you'd have 9 million groups you were a part of and extracurricular activities and sports and, advanced placement college classes and all these kinds of things that growing up in that community where everyone is very like business driven and success driven and whatever, sort of trickles down into the youth. And so that was just what it was like as a kid,
Wow. That's a lot of, that's pressure, man.
Yeah. I mean, it is, and it was, but it,
I mean, it is. It was.
I think I'm probably making it sound like it was a lot more awful than it was. It was great. I loved growing up where I did and the way that I did, and I'm very thankful for it. But I mean, I remember like in high school, like I'd take AP classes, and then I'd go to track practice, and then I'd go to a church meeting or something like that, and then I'd do my homework, and then I'd do it all over again, and and there was something every day.
Yeah,
and that was just sort of like what kids in the area did.
Yeah, but you obviously had the coping skills to handle that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the average kid probably goes on overload.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, for where we were, it was like, yeah, man, you got to do all these things and have a college resume so you can go to Stanford or something or whatever. I didn't go there, but sometimes I think maybe I work too hard at stuff. But that was funny. It was like guitar was a real passion of mine, but like, so was sports, but then I was also really involved in school. So I was juggling a whole lot. And sometimes I think if I had like just been one of the kids that was like, screw it, I'm going to take the least amount of classes I can and just skip 6th period and go play guitar, like, would I be better?
Yeah.
I don't know. But, so that's just kind of, I'm a product of my environment growing up there, I think. And so I'm used to juggling a lot of things, and I'm used to crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's and just being thorough with everything I do and juggling a lot on my plate. I don't know if that's like a thing with maybe people my age or something, but there's probably a much bigger sociological explanation for all of my generation, people born in like the mid to late 80s.
Well, it's interesting, but all those things probably allow you, having to do all those things, set the set the groundwork for, now you have a trio, you play with Snarky Puppy, you have your own stuff, you got a pedal, you got guitar endorsements, you got stuff you got to sell, you got merch, you got to go book gigs. If you hadn't had that early training, and a lot of musicians didn't, a lot of people didn't, and then they're put in a situation professionally where now they have to, and it's, they can't handle it because they have no experience to draw on.
Right.
It's not like they're dumb or whatever. It's just they can't handle it. It's brand new.
Sure.
So you had like baptism by fire at a younger age.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, that's what I knew nothing else.
Yeah. Right. No, I totally get it. I totally get it. What did your dad do? Is he a tech guy?
Kinda. Yeah. Both of my parents were at one point. They were more in the public relations spectrum of the tech industry, but my mom used to work for Apple back in the 80s, and my dad was with Sun Microsystems for many years, before they went bankrupt. Yeah. So I came from an interesting family in the sense that they are both kind of business-minded people, but at their core, my parents are very artistic people. My dad's actually really a writer. A lot of what he did was speech writing for CEOs and things like that. So he's a creative person. And then my mother now is an artist full time. Cool. She's been a full time visual artist, and that was actually her degree in college was fine art, and my dad's degree was in English. So they're artsy people. They just sort of fell into this kind of business world in the late 70s and 80s of software and tech and that whole thing. But now they're retired, and my dad's writing a book, and my mom's doing her art. So
good. That's awesome.
Life's good. Yeah.
That's very cool, man.
Yeah.
Talk about, for each one of these artists, tell me how you got the gig and the nature of the engagement, Mark. And then if you have a cool or interesting story about working with them.
All right.
The first one I got to ask you about is David Crosby.
Yeah, man. Well, I got to thank Snarky Puppy for that one. Specifically Michael League and the whole team. I'm trying to figure this out. Crosby tweeted about us and said a very flattering thing about, this is the greatest band in the world kind of thing. Crosby's very passionate dude.
Yeah, to say the least.
And so Michael, just on a whim, like tweeted him back or messaged him, was like, "Hey man, you want to do something together?" And he was like, "Yes." And Mike was like, "Oh wait, you're serious? Oh, okay." And so that started this relationship, and we invited him to come do this family dinner record that we did. We'd done volume 1, where it's us as like a backing band with different singers, and we kind of rearranged their original tunes and then performed them live. So volume 1 was a great success. That was the one where we won the first Grammy with Layla Hathaway. And so we did volume 2 down in New Orleans, and Crosby was one of the guests. And we did 2 songs with them. One was an original called Snarky
Puppy original or Crosby?
Crosby's original called Somebody Home. And then we did a rearrangement of Guinevere, which was really cool.
Oh my God, what a great song!
And then afterwards, he was like, "I want to keep recording with you guys. Can you all stay in New Orleans and do some tracks for my next record?" And we were like, "No, that's a terrible idea. Yeah, of course we're going to do that." And so we did. I think we did Somebody Home again, and it was on his Sky Trails record that he just put out. So yeah, he's the coolest, man.
He's got a son, I think, who lives out in LA.
He's got 2 sons, I think.
And one of them's, I don't know. I know
one of them's a record producer. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it does something because I've interviewed a couple of guys I interviewed, I think Sean Tubbs.
Yeah, sure.
I think Sean might have played with him.
Quite, yeah, totally possible.
Very cool. Did he have any cool stories about back in the day?
I'm trying to remember them. He's got a lot of funny stories about him and Graham Nash.
What, like hanging out and partying,
or just, you know, I think one time they were in a hotel lobby. Oh, gosh, I hope he doesn't hear this. He might. He'll probably, whatever.
I hope he does. And David, please call me. I'd love to have you on the show.
They were, I think, and I hope I don't screw this up, but they were like in a hotel lobby somewhere, and Graham Nash, I guess, somebody came up to Graham Nash and was like, "Oh my gosh, you know, you're Graham Nash, like whatever." And he was like, "Oh yeah, and over there is Gallagher." The comedian. And so the same fan went over to Crosby and asked if he was Gallagher.
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
So yeah,
that's hilarious.
David, I'm sorry I told that story. Please don't be mad at me.
David, I hope it's inaccurate and you need to come on the show and correct
exactly. Yes, exactly. Or come on the show and tell more stories.
Sort the record out. Yes, for sure, man. That is a great story, man. Thank you. Snoop Dogg.
So that was interesting because I never met the guy.
Right.
And I think that's a testament to a couple of the sessions on my resume where people email me stuff and I do it in my underpants and I email it back and all of a sudden Snoop Dogg is on the track or Adam Levine is on the track. So the Snoop Dogg thing was actually for a project here in Dallas that Erykah Badu's music director put together. He has a band called The Grits.
Okay.
And he also, the guy that the MD, his name's R.C. Williams, used to play in Snoop's band. And so he emailed me some tunes to play and I did all the guitars on him and sent him back. And he was like, "Yeah, man, we got Snoop on that track." And I was like, "Oh,
that's
cool."
Wild.
A similar thing with the Levine 50 Cent Eminem thing. That was one song with all three of them on it.
That's wild.
That guy Symbolic One produced. Yeah. We went over to his house. We did it. I laid down a couple guitar passes. I think I just played straight into the computer, and then he like shifted it around and put tones on it, whatever. And then all of a sudden, it's a 50 Cent track featuring Eminem with Adam Levine singing the hook.
That's wild. And so you never know until the product is done who you're even doing this for.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how a lot of this stuff happens these days.
So you just get a request that says, you know, you need to play something funky over this or whatever. Yeah, essentially. I mean, sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes I'll just get just files, and you know, especially with a Symbolic One, he'll send me like a couple tunes at a time and just says, "Do your thing," you know. So I give him like a guitar choir, basically, with all these stacks and all different kinds of sounds, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, cool, that's on a Talib Kweli record or a Lupe Fiasco record or who else was on there that he's done that we did together. Lecrae is a really big Christian rapper, so it's kind of cool. It's a testament to how sessions are done a lot of the ways now, you know, and here we are in 2018. So how much time did you have to put in? Because I think this is overlooked. I mean, you guys work hard. Like, how much learning, like, what do you use, Pro Tools or whatever?
I use Logic.
Okay. How much time did it take to master that?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a master of it at all, but Logic is actually pretty easy to learn. I started on GarageBand. Well, actually, I started on Pro Tools and hated it. Okay. It just made no sense to me. And that was like back in college. I think I downloaded like Pro Tools for free and then tried to record a demo and then accidentally deleted the whole thing because I didn't know how to use it. So then I bought a Mac with GarageBand on it and kind of got started working with that. And then Logic, actually, the interface is somewhat similar to GarageBand, so it doesn't take that long. I mean, for what I do here at home, which is either just like coming up with, you know, Instagram style demos or just demos for my own stuff or doing actual guitar session work, I know Logic well enough to do that. I don't think I could mix a record on Logic like some people can do, you know. But for what 99% of what I do on Logic, I'm very proficient at and can do it, you know. Like, you can send me a song, I can send you guitar tracks, send them back, they sound good, they're lined up, the tones are decent, you know.
Well, I mean, it must be more than decent if you got all these people.
Well,
they're decent.
They're okay.
Yeah,
they're good.
I don't think Snoop's running around saying, Yeah, my guitar player was decent.
I don't know how particular Snoop is about guitar tone. That's the hip hop and is something a little different because sometimes things that you as a guitar player or a tone snob might think like, oh man, if it fits the track and someone's happy with it, then we're done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm okay with that now at a point in my life.
Yeah.
If somebody asks for a DI track, I'll send them a DI track. They can put whatever
DI
amp they want. Yeah. Like sometimes I'll get called to do a session where the producer will want my sounds, like from my Kemper amp or my pedal board or something. And then they'll just want like a straight DI track, like straight into the interface.
What does DI mean? Sorry.
Direct interface.
Okay.
Direct in or something like that. So it's just a good dry guitar, which probably sounds like butt.
Yeah.
But then they'll put it into their software and manipulate it, and that's cool. I think that's part of the art.
Yeah.
So.
But you have that thing especially with getting the funk and the groove going. So I think that they're looking for that, which is why you keep getting
maybe so
called back on that particular style, man. Because what you do is right in that genre. And by the way, everybody, Mark is also in his underwear right now. So this is
I am not.
This is his thing.
Fully clothed, showered, and shaved. Got a cat on my lap. I got dressed up for this, Greg. Are you kidding me?
I know. I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle. I was surprised to see that. What did you do with Dave?
So Dave does these funny things. Well, he's funny because he's a comedian. Of course he's funny. He does these like after party things for some of his comedy shows when he wraps up like a residency or something. And he has a backing band.
Wow, that is cool.
It's led by this guy, Frederick Yonnet, who's this insane harmonica player. And he's a great band leader. And so he leads these backing bands. And he has like a normal roster of guys that do it, but it's also a little bit revolving. So I've come in and done a couple of them, and it's very on the fly. The tune list is like 100 songs, but we obviously don't play all of them. It's kind of like we're up there just kind of waiting for what Dave wants to sing or rap or whoever famous friend that he brings in. I think the last time we did one, Bruno Mars was there and sang, and Common is there and Badu and like all these great hip hop and soul artists and friends of Dave. But then, we'll come. I think one time he sang, might have been him. We sang "Smells Like Teen Spirit," so that was pretty cool.
That's cool. That's unexpected.
Yeah, so it's like a really awesome cover band gig.
And where do these usually take place? Like, where is he?
He does them all over. Yeah. So I did one in New York, one in DC, but they do them anywhere that he kind of like wants to do it.
That's awesome. That's great. Where in New York did you do it? Do you remember?
Well, we did part of it at Radio City.
Oh, that's nice.
And then, when he finished up his residency there, and so we did a tune there with him, and John Mayer played with us. That was cool.
Holy shit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then we moved it to some club that he had rented out for his birthday. I don't remember the name of the club, but it was in Manhattan somewhere. And
did you get to hang around the city a little bit?
I've been to New York a ton. I got family there, so I'm there actually a couple times a year.
Okay,
so,
very cool.
Yeah, totally, man.
Awesome. Was Dave pretty funny? Was he Dave Chappelle or is he?
He's generally like an affable guy. I didn't get a whole lot of time to like chat with him or whatever, but we exchanged pleasantries and he gave me a hug and I said happy birthday and he said thanks. So it's like I wouldn't say Dave is like a close friend or anything like that, but it was definitely cool to at least interact with him and play music with him.
It's a cool experience in general.
Yeah, totally.
Good for you, man. SKP, what is that company and what's your role in it?
So that is led by this guy Symbolic One or S1. That's his production name, and he's a producer here in DFW. He's been around for a long time, producing all kinds of tracks. And on the resume that you read, he did some stuff with Beyonce and Kanye West, and he's done Madonna, Gladys Knight. I mean, his resume is like nuts. But I got hooked up with him just through some mutual friends here, and he sends me tracks to play on all the time. Sometimes I'll go over to his home studio and he just has like a list of beats vamps or something, and we'll either come up with the chords together or kind of co-produce it, or I'll just do guitar stuff, kind of whatever. And some of the ideas are like 8 bars,
okay,
and then we just go on to the next one. And so I've been working with him for years, and that's where a lot of the hip hop names that you read off was from work with him. So it's been cool. Been really cool.
So are you involved with with SKP?
Well, I'm sort of like the guitar guy for him.
Cool.
He's got a kind of a stable of live musicians that he calls in to play on his production, because he programs and does drum machines and things like that. But then he's got like a couple, bass player that he works with, a couple keyboard players, some horn section, and I do the majority of the guitar stuff.
So you're like a first call guy for him.
Yeah,
that's great, man. That's a really good opportunity. Good for you, man. Are you working on anything? Because you haven't talked about enough shit you're working on. Are you working on anything now that you're like really excited about?
Well, my goal this year is to do 2 records, which is it sounds crazy to say that.
Just 2?
Yeah. Well, I want to somehow put this baritone funk project into a studio concept. I've been doing those videos for over a year, and I think what I'm going to do is kind of pick maybe the top 5 or 6 and sort of expand them into more complete compositions, I think, and maybe write some new ones. I don't know, but I think I want to do an EP of it.
Great.
Figure out a way to do that. And then I think like towards the end of the year, I want to get back into the studio with my guys and do a more Mark Lettieri style record. I just need to finish writing the music because it's been 2 years since Spark and Echo, so I kind of need to do another one.
I give you credit for continue. Well, 2 things. Number one, very smart to allow. The nice thing about social media is you put out X number, and then you could see really simple, based on number of likes or whatever, which ones are the most popular, and then say, oh, sure, well, I'll put these on the record.
Right. I know. It's like I already tested it.
Yeah, it's friggin'
focus group.
Split testing. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, man. That's awesome. So, kudos to you. But I give you credit to continue to crank out records, in this environment where it's like, sometimes it's hard to justify making a record. Like, it used to be you made a record and then you toured to get money and you got paid. You sold the record, then you did the tour to support the record sales. Now it's like you do the tour so you could eat. Hopefully, it's just the business has changed. So I give you a lot of credit for continuing to crank out really good records at that.
Thanks. Well, I think I feel like I have an obligation to people who have supported me, that they want new music. I know the guys in my band probably want to play new songs.
Yeah.
And I want to see what I can come up with next. My goal was always to try to be consistent putting these things out and hopefully make each one a little bit better than the next and a little bit different.
Yeah.
So it's time to do that. I don't want to have like a gap of 6-7 years between albums, because that might happen, but if I can avoid it, I would like to.
Yeah. Do you, you mentioned something earlier that, when we were talking about like being driven, something along the lines of, I'm going to paraphrase. I tend to, spend a long time making sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Right.
Do you find sometimes that you do that too much? Because it's not too much, because that's the wrong question. Because if you're doing it, you don't think it's too much.
Yeah.
When I was a little younger, I have a very strong work ethic, and everything I did, it was very important to me that if my name, I have pride of ownership, which you clearly have. So it was very important to me to spend all the extra time on it. Now my mindset is a little different. And I think I said to you in the beginning, we were talking about editing, I said, done is better than perfect.
Huh. Yeah.
And not that I would ever put out anything sloppy in anything, any business or anything I'm involved with. But for me, I realized that I think I spent a lot of time going from 95 to 100 or 92 to 96%. Was probably not worth it in retrospect. That I should have spent that time on me.
Yeah.
Doing nothing, like hanging out with my wife or, playing with my kids.
Right.
And now that my kids are all gone, I have, I realize it finally, but, I was just curious if you struggle with that or you ever think about that stuff. Not that my way is the right way for anybody else. Just
yeah, I think when it comes to the business stuff, I do try to make sure everything is as organized as possible, because when things fall through the cracks, then it makes the creative stuff harder to get done.
Yeah.
And that, I think if I can have the business stuff and the administrative stuff and logistical stuff in order, then I can just focus on playing music.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the music stuff, it's funny. I think, you pose a very interesting question. I think especially with like some of my stuff, my solo stuff, I'm okay with certain idiosyncrasies in my playing now, or supposed errors, or that kind of thing. Like, there's a huge, especially being a quote unquote Instagram guitar player, whatever the heck that is. There's it's like an arms race to be like perfect and like better than the next guy that put out the next video. And it's just it's sort of this escalating thing that can be kind of like discouraging in a sense. And, because there's certain things about each individual that will always be there, no matter who they try to compare themselves to or who they try to emulate or whatever. And I think if you can kind of focus on those things and be okay with those things, that's how you end up with your own sound.
Right.
And so I'm kind of at a point now where I'm like, yeah, maybe that take wasn't perfect, but it also kind of kicked ass.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with that. Like the guy that helps me engineer my records and kind of co-produces, he always says this thing. He goes, because I'll do a take or something and I'll be like, it's almost perfect. He goes, yeah, perfectly boring. And it kind of made me think. I was like, you know what? Like, that's actually kind of true. Like, if you really kind of are okay with the human element in the stuff you play, like, there's a lot of beauty there.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so I've learned to kind of let go of the reins a little bit. And, that's not now there's a difference, obviously, if something just sucks or is sloppy or you're playing.
We're not talking about
totally
sloppy. We're talking about levels of perfect. We're talking about levels of
that last 6-8%. Like, I don't care about that. Like, if that,
that's good.
Exactly.
Because it's and just so you know, I don't know if this will help you at all. At least me, as a fan of people's playing, as a fan of your playing and other guitars, I've never once I'm 54. I've been listening to music as long as I can remember, since I'm probably close to 5. I've never in 49 years looked at and somebody's music that I enjoy and say, well, he's not as good as, I never listened to Jimmy Page and said, well, he's not as good as Stevie Ray Vaughan. Mm-hmm. So I would highly doubt, if someone's listening to you, they're listening to you because they like you, not to find flaws. I mean, not too many people spend time. I'm sure there's a few fucking weirdos out there that are, that are like, obsessing. I want to find the mistakes, but that's not your fan base. That's,
right.
So, I mean, I don't know if that helps, but don't worry about, don't worry about, people like you for what you're doing.
Sure.
Not
I
not for what you're not doing.
Yeah, I get it. It's just, but it is sort of like, we are in an age now where everything is documented and everything is then posted or whatever. And you just kind of have to be okay with what's out there.
Yes.
At some point.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I got, someone sent me anonymously an email and they said, hey, your show is really good, but you use too many filler words and you need to work on that, and you should speak more professionally. And I was going to send them a note that said, you're 100% right. Because she's right. I do struggle with filler words at times, like and
oh, well, we all do.
But I mean, I'm okay with, I'm doing the best I can. I'm okay with that, and I wanted to send her the letter. You're 100% right. But I'm okay with that. And I'm obviously always trying to get better and stuff, but it is what it is. And I think there's a lot to be said for the authenticity, like your buddy who's co-engineering with you, perfectly boring. I think people want that. They want authenticity, because that is the scarcity in life in general. That's what people are after. They want to hear real stuff.
Right.
Know? So, and
totally, man.
Yeah, I think you're doing great, man, for whatever that's worth.
Appreciate it.
When did you start like getting into guitar? When did you realize, this is it for me? I'm going to play professionally.
It probably was a lot later than people think. I was already out of college.
Oh, wow.
I had sort of made the decision towards the end of college that I was going to make it a part of my professional life. But I wasn't really sure, like, I kind of knew how, but I was still, at the end of my senior year in college, I was still trying to go on interviews for advertising agencies, and public relations companies. And, I one summer I did an internship at a PR firm in San Francisco. I mean, like, that was my summer, but then I was also trying to play gigs on the weekends with my friends. So it was like, sort of this, like, what am I really doing? What really makes me happy? And so out of college, I kind of went headfirst into the music thing, but also I grabbed a little day job, sort of like a little 9 to 3, not even really 9 to 5, or it was like 8 to 2. I don't quite remember. Because I think I was just still a little bit scared that I couldn't do it, that not necessarily that I wasn't good enough, maybe that, but more so that I just didn't I didn't know how to do it. It was like I just was taking any gig that I could with any band anywhere, and I guess that's how you do it. Because obviously no one was telling me what to do, how to do it, or
Sure.
I didn't have like a network from a music school or anything like that, so I just had to go get it. And I went to jam sessions all the time and just made sure as many people that I thought needed to hear me could hear me, I guess. And that just led to gigs of all different kinds. Weddings, birthday parties, funerals, clubs, churches, whatever, with whoever. Yeah. I played in a country band for a while. I was doing church stuff, cover band stuff. I always had some sort of original, like, rock band thing that I thought would be fun to do. And backing R&B singers and just whatever. And it just kind of all got consistent enough to where I thought I could quit my little day job and just keep playing. And so that's kind of how it happened. I guess I always had sort of a bit of amount of confidence that I could do it, but there was still a lot of hesitation, certainly early on.
Being as driven as you are, you gave yourself permission to follow your muse, to do what made you happy. Mm-hmm. And I was curious, what allowed you to, or what was your decision-making process to follow what made you happy instead of following the thing that's going to either make you money or lead to a quote unquote career and be more along the lines of, the Bay Area expectations that you grew up in?
Man, I think I've just always been very individualistic in my pursuit of stuff that I just really felt I wanted to do and needed to do and what would make me happy. And I think having that internship at that PR firm kind of confirmed what was going to make me happy, because I would be sitting at my desk supposed to be writing a release, and I would be like thinking about music and, trying to write riffs in my head and things like that. And I finally just had to listen to that and be like, okay, you need to figure out how to do that, because you're not, khaki pants are not for you.
So, that's great.
Or whatever. But, and I think a lot of times it's hard for people to have that kind of epiphany. And like I said, it was for me, otherwise I wouldn't have tried to have a day job right out of college. I would have just played guitar. So it took me a little longer to kind of get that confidence up. But then, as I started playing, I had friends that would say to me, like, wait, why are you working? Like, dude, you can do this. I do that. I had other friends that were professional musicians or whatever. And they're like, I do this. What do you and I we're just as good as each other or whatever. They're like, you're good enough to do this. And so I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. And so I saved some money, of course. I tried to be super frugal and sort of to have like a little bit of a cushion in case I was totally just eating it. So I'm thankful for having the wherewithal to do that. I just never looked back. Like, I think there's just a part of me that was like, man, it'll work out. This is going to work out, So, and I think my parents started to realize that too. And they were always really supportive of my passion. And I think they were just like, you know what? He's not going to go into PR. Fine. He's going to be a guitar player. Great.
Let's get behind him on this. Then.
Let's get, and like I said, they always were, so thankfully I never had parents that were just like, when are you going to get a real job? Like,
that's gotta be horrible, man.
It's gotta be. And I feel it's tough that there are players that have to kind of deal with that, so I'm grateful that we didn't have to as much. Yeah.
That's really cool. Let's talk about gear for a little bit.
All right. Gear it is.
Gear, and he's got all those guitars, really cool guitars.
Some of them, yeah.
What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other two guitars would round out your top three?
Well, I do generally everything with my blue Grosh, which I think is in a case actually somewhere. Oh, but nobody needs to see this anyway.
Nobody's seeing this, no. Just hearing me salivate over your guitar.
Right, yeah. I have this Grosh NOS Retro Swamp Ash body maple neck, which I do the lion's share of stuff with, definitely with my trio.
And that's Grosh.
Grosh, yeah. Right.
And it's like it's like a Strat. It looks like a
exactly.
Strat.
Yeah, it's like a better Strat.
Where is that made out of? Where's Grosh out of?
Bloomfield, Colorado. Broomfield, BROM.
How did you get
OOM?
How did you?
I had a friend that was playing their stuff, and he sounded really awesome. And I just was like, I was kind of looking for a kind of made-to-order boutique guitar that could really do everything I wanted out of a Strat-style guitar. And I looked at some other companies, and I think what kind of sold me on Grosh, strangely enough, was the headstock, which sounds really funny, but like, if the headstock looks weird, I can't get into it. And so Grosh was like, okay, well, those headstocks are cool. Let me check out the rest of the guitars. And it was like awesome. Like, they had everything I wanted. And so I just ordered one.
What was special about the one you ordered?
Well,
what unique? I shouldn't say special. Unique.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Well, I've always wanted a Swamp Ash. The neck is a really cool size. It's a little bit bigger than a standard Fender.
Are you a big guy? You're
no, not really. But I mean, I'm like 5'10", I think.
But you have big hands, or just like
not really. I think it was just the way my playing style was evolving. I needed a little bit more under the hood there, and electronically, it's really cool. I can make it sound like a Telecaster if I want to, with this blend knob feature that's really nice. It's just a really badass, well-made guitar, man. Like, the neck joint is like flawless. Like, it's just killer. And it's light, so I don't, I'm not killing my back or whatever. The pickups speak incredibly well.
What kind of, are they Grosh pickups?
Yeah, they're his pickups. Yeah, and cool. You really get the tone of your hands because they let you manipulate them. It's not. I think I said this in a Premier Guitar video, but it's one of those guitars that you can play it. It doesn't play you. Does that make sense?
For you, it makes sense, not for me, because
okay,
I don't play like you.
Well, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and so thankfully, most of my guitars I try to have guitars that are like that, and it's hard to find.
It sounds great.
Yeah. Thanks.
Video sounds. I've seen several videos of you playing that guitar. It sounds wonderful, man. It really.
Thanks,
does.
man. Yeah. And then I have a couple other kind of like that fill a very specific kind of role in what I need. I have a really beautiful Collings I-35 that I use.
Can you pull
quite
that
a bit.
out? I was just looking at it.
Oh yeah, sure.
I'd love to see that. Yeah. So Mark's got it's a beautiful like a T-burst maybe. Is it like?
Yeah, that's something.
Or is it? I can't see if it's red or T.
It's more of a brown. So
okay, so it's like T-burst, Collings, beautiful. What is it? I-35.
They call it the I-35. Yeah.
Beautiful, nice binding around it.
Yeah, these are just solid guitars, man. So I got this and haven't looked at a Gibson since.
Yeah. Are those Collings pickups in there?
They are Lawler pickups.
Okay.
In there. And then I have this cool PRS that's kind of replaced my Les Paul needs a little bit. It's a 594, which is real cool. I have a rack of tellies here. One of them is a 7-string, which is pretty neat.
Wow.
It's a Kiesel. Yeah, that's a fun guitar. And then a couple different. One of them is set up for open E, even though I'm a terrible slide player. One of them has a guitar synth on it. One of them is kind of like more from my Prince kind of stuff. This one's real spanky sounding. It's actually not a Fender.
I like
it's
that neck.
Yeah, it's made by this guy named Michael Cooling, who has a company called California Artist Guitars. He's out of England.
There's so many boutique guitar companies.
Oh gosh,
it's amazing,
it's crazy. It's just cool stuff, man. And then I have this other Strat that I've had since I was a kid, but Don Grosh put a Grosh neck on it because the neck that it had was just dead. I mean, it wouldn't stay straight at all. So
what's that one way in the back?
With the black binding?
Yeah, the black binding.
This is a Dan Electro baritone.
Okay.
Actually, so I have a Dan Electro baritone there, and then the Supro baritone is right next to it.
Very cool.
And then I do have a Les Paul here, which I actually haven't played in a little while. Kind of feel bad.
Very cool, man.
Yeah. And then the other wall is the amps. So
what's your number one amp?
It varies. I've been using the Supro Statesman quite a bit, which is really cool. Just big, solid, fat, rock and roll clean amp, if that's a thing. Rock and roll clean, I think it is.
Does that take pedals well?
Very well,
okay.
Yeah. And then another really great amp that I use a lot is a Pure 64.
I don't know that.
He's out of New York, upstate New York in Albany. Mark Giamatti is his name. And
was he a musician?
I don't
know. Why do I know that name?
I mean, well,
Giamatti.
he plays guitar, but I think you're thinking of Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I knew the name.
Yeah, the actor. But anyway, Mark makes these great 6L6 amps, and I have one of a head and cab from him, which is a beautiful sounding amp. That's a lot of the Spark and Echo stuff was done with that amp. There's a Naylor Dual 60 over here, which is really cool. I pull that one out for sessions and gigs when there's a lot of guys on stage, and I need to just like mow them all down.
So that's your headroom, your kick-ass one there.
Yeah. And then there's a couple little combos. Here's the Princeton Reverb, a 68.
Wow, that's nice.
60 something. Yeah, a friend, actually Wes, the bass player, it's his late stepfather's.
Oh, wow.
And so so it's a pretty special thing. I need to get the pots cleaned, but it sounds really beautiful. There's a PRS Sunzera, which is a really cool rig that I use for kind of smaller settings. It's like a 20 watt combo, so it sort of would replace the role of like a Fender Deluxe. Takes pedals really well. So yeah, I think everything. It's tough not to like try and get as much gear as you can, but I think I'm okay with everything.
Yeah, you seem pretty functional. I don't see you have a very reasonable number of guitars there. Yeah, unless there's like another room of storage.
No, there isn't. I mean,
that's really reasonable.
I could probably go through each one and tell you the specific role that each one of these has. And so anytime I add another guitar, it's got to fulfill a specific role. So like Kiesel is making me a semi-hollow right now that has a piezo in it, which I'm going to be using on my television show gig because I have to switch between electric and acoustic sometimes. And so sometimes it'd be nice to just not have to do that.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, and then there's this giant thing of pedals.
That is, I noticed that. Yeah, Mark has like 4 shelves of pedals. I'm going to say there's like maybe a dozen to a dozen and a half pedals on each one. Let's call it 15. So he's got like 60 pedals. But honestly, even having 60 pedals for a professional guitar player is not unreasonable.
It still might be not that many.
Yeah, no, it's not. I've seen guys that like have that doubled or tripled, to be honest.
Oh yeah, sure.
So, in fact, a lot of guys I know, they'll like if they get a particular pedal they like, they'll have like 5 of them.
Well, I kind of want 5 of my signature ones.
Right.
But I do have a couple doubles. I have a couple fuzz faces and a couple MXR blue boxes for some reason. I'm not sure how that happened. but I have
what is
those.
a blue box? What's an MXR blue box?
It's that song, that Zeppelin tune, "Fool in the Rain."
Yeah.
That solo that Jimmy does is a MXR blue box, and it's like one of those things where like I'll use it once in a blue moon on a session just because. But I have 2 of them.
Good for you, man. You're allowed. You're a professional, and you get to write them off. So what the hell?
That's right. Oh, and I do.
You should. Mark will be conducting a tax seminar
no, I won't.
on the next Everyone Loves Guitar. Musically, if I asked you to pick your top 3 Desert Island discs in no particular order, and knowing that they can change tomorrow, what's like knee-jerk reaction would come to your mind today?
I'd probably have to pick a Hendrix record, and I might even just go ahead and say like Ultimate Experience or like a Greatest Hits or something like that, because I remember as a kid like wearing the tape off of that cassette. Probably just from rewinding it to hear Voodoo Child over and over again.
Great song,
I would say, gosh, I need to put a Prince record on there. I just don't know. Maybe Purple Rain.
Yeah, why not?
One. And then, maybe Fair Warning from Van Halen.
That's the first. Cool.
Yeah, for today.
For today, yeah. This is Magic World, man. You get to pick another 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
So I think you've worked really hard for someone that didn't start this seriously until after college. What have you learned about yourself along this journey so far?
Wow. What have I learned about myself? I think I'm still learning about myself, but I think I've learned how to kind of like manage people, which sounds really weird, but like maybe manage isn't the right word, but I've kind of had to learn how to be a leader a little bit. Manage is not the right word. I don't manage anybody, but lead people and kind of lead by example, or at least lead in a way that is inspiring to people. Whether that's, leading my trio or giving Skype lessons or, heck, even just taking phone calls from people that want to need maybe advice or something on their career or something like that. Like I mentor a lot of young players, occasionally, and I have to try to like guide them in a way that is good for them, and I think I'm learning how to do that better. I hope. It's weird because I never would ever have thought that people would ever ask me for advice on anything.
Why?
Well, I don't know. Because part of me is just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just,
None of us do. We're all just getting through the day, man.
But, like if I can, like I want the guys that I have play my music to want to do it and to feel like I'm taking them to a good place and making it, a beneficial experience for them. And so, it's been good. I've worked with a lot of good leaders, like I've served under them.
No, that's appropriate. Like,
yeah. Like working with Michael, with Snarky, and seeing how he runs things has been real inspiring, and some of the other artists that I've worked with, just how they kind of handle their business and take care of stuff is inspiring to me. So when I'm in that role, I try to kind of, take some of those things that I've learned, I guess.
Man.
Yeah.
Tell me something about yourself people would either be surprised to hear or might find a little odd.
The 2 of the toes on my right foot are webbed.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I've seen that before, actually.
Yeah.
That's why.
I know.
You know what?
But it's only that foot.
On your right. If you snap a photo of that, I will use that as your photo.
I'm not. yeah. The message boards will just
on the
I
website.
Can't wait to see.
Wow. I've seen that before. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I could swim really fast, but only in a circle. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's just 2 toes. It's not the whole foot. I don't know if I could do that, but I don't know. It's just been a thing. Wes likes to make fun of it.
Have you ever felt like getting the other toes webbed so they're all equal?
Yeah. Right. Look at my fingers web. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I've that's only the second. I mean, I'm sure other people have, but I've actually, like I said, I've seen that once before, and it was like, wow, that's interesting.
I'm a unique dude.
Yeah, man. You have like a son or a daughter?
I have a daughter. Yeah.
Does she have that?
No, she has like perfect feet.
Yeah.
But she got my wife's feet, I guess. Yeah.
Interesting.
It'd be weird if she had dude feet. You know.
Well, no, I didn't mean dude feet.
No,
I mean just like the web
kidding.
thing.
Yeah, no, she didn't get that.
But talk about your family for a minute. How old your daughter?
She will be 11 months next month.
Oh, wow. So you're like brand new dad. Congratulations. I didn't realize your daughter's that yet. That's nice, man. What do you like most about being a dad?
I don't know. It's good. I like the fun hanging out with her. You know what I mean? It's the logistical stuff that drives me nuts. But seeing her have fun and play and yell and scream and laugh, and that's just I've never experienced anything like that before. You know, now if she could just sleep through the night, that'd be freaking amazing.
Yeah. It's coming soon. It'll be soon.
Working on that.
It'll be soon.
Yeah.
That's great. The next few years will be great. Like, that's like after, just about now, she's probably not only reacting, like actually prompting action. Yeah.
She's has a very unique personality. We're noticing. Yeah.
That's great.
It's cool. It's really cool seeing how that stuff develops.
Good for you. How long have you been married?
I hope I get this right.
Or with
6
your
years.
wife. I shouldn't say married anymore. Nobody gets married. 6 years. Good for you, man. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any bad habits?
I need to work out more, man.
Dude, you look like you're in pretty good shape.
Well, thanks, but I don't feel. I need to. I don't have any bad habits. I wouldn't say that, except for maybe biting my fingernails. But I need to get on some kind of routine. Coming from an athletic background and then all of a sudden not having that anymore, it's like,
oh yeah, because your standards.
Well, I look at pictures of myself in college, and I was like, dang, man.
No, I get what you're saying. But you look like you're in good shape, man. To be honest with you.
Thanks.
Do you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Yeah, man. My wife and I are real foodies. We have a lot of foodie friends. We like to try and cook. We definitely like to go eat.
Cool.
New restaurants. Travel when we can. Watch stupid shows on Netflix.
What do you like? What do you like to eat?
I do really enjoy Asian food.
Cool.
But I'll eat anything if it's made well. And the cool thing about Fort Worth is it's kind of having like a culinary revival right now, and so there's a lot of cool restaurants opening up, and that for me that's like the coolest thing about touring.
Oh yeah, you get
even cooler than the music is that you get to try the local cuisine. So when I was in Costa Rica, my homie was like, well, yeah, we got like like this burger joint, and I was like, no, I want to go. So we went and got like the local chorizo sausage and all that kind of stuff, and it was awesome.
I'd imagine seafood there is probably delicious.
Yep, ceviche was off the chain, man.
Yeah. I love ceviche. That's good stuff, man. And you might have just mentioned this. Any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Well, aside from food, I mean, I do. When I have time to be active, I like to ride my bike. I run still. Just hang out, man. Like I think my interest outside of music is anything not music. If I can kind of turn my brain off, and just watch college football or go to a college football game, Do
you get approached outside? Do people recognize you?
Every now and then, mostly in airports and guitar stores.
Really? What do they usually say? What do people say?
You're Mark Lettieri, right? And, yeah. Or like, are you Mark Lettieri? Or like, whoa, it's Mark Lettieri. And that's a really cool, man. And I always take a picture if they want a picture. For me, it's just like, whoa, like, really? You know who I am? Yeah, of course I'll take a picture. Woo, I'm a superstar.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
I remember one time we were in Turkey, in Istanbul, with a Snarky Puppy, and I was walking down the street, and a guy ran out of a music store and just started yelling, Mark Lettieri, Mark. And I was like, For a second I was like, what? Whoa,
I have your wallet. I have your wallet.
Right. You have my passport or something. And then he was like, Dad, you got to come in. Like, I recognize you, whatever.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Nice.
I another time in LA, a kid at the airport recognized me and wanted to take a picture. And right at that moment, Marcus Miller walked by, and I was like, "Hey, man, don't worry about me. You need to go talk to Marcus Miller.
You're missing that.
He's a superstar. Forget me. You got to talk to that guy." So it's cool. It's very flattering. I'm grateful for that kind of stuff.
Good, man. That is nice. What is your favorite place you've traveled? Because you've already mentioned a bunch of cool places: Istanbul, Costa Rica.
Yeah, well, those are definitely high on the list. I love Tokyo. Obviously, the food has something to do with that. Tokyo is really cool. I've always loved London.
What do you like about it?
I don't know. It's just I think the British way of stuff is just fun for me. I don't know if it's the sense of humor or whatever, but I've always liked London.
My wife's from there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's a fun city.
The humor is different there a little bit.
Right. I thought Santiago, Chile was really beautiful. That was a unique place. Only been there once, but that was really cool. Wellington, New Zealand is gorgeous.
Wow. How far? That's like a major, it's like 24 hours.
That's close to it. Yeah, that's a schlep. But it's really cool. It looks like a small San Francisco Bay Area, actually.
I've seen some cool movies that take place in New Zealand, and it really looks beautiful, actually.
Sure. Yeah, New Zealand's really cool. We spent some time on the Gold Coast of Australia last year on tour. I went surfing, so that was pretty cool.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So it sounds like you do athletic stuff.
I do. No, I do. Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself a surfer at all. I rented a surfboard and flopped around on it.
Well, but still, I mean, you got to have some. I couldn't rent a surfboard. I'd be like, I'd know.
You go to the surf store and you give them $15.
Yeah. I could rent one and then I'll stick it on the sand. I wouldn't actually use it, but that's funny, man. That's good, man. That's real cool. What's the favorite part of what you do, Mark, and the least favorite?
I think the favorite part of doing what I do is actually getting to do it. Getting to play music and make the music and play music with people that I really care about, and kind of like, it's always great to play a great gig and have everyone feel like it was a great gig. Like, that's just a cool feeling that you can't find anywhere else.
Got another cat, different.
Oh,
cat.
yeah. His name is actually Wawa Pedal. That's his name.
That's a perfect name, man.
Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
Perfect. There you go. Yeah.
The least favorite thing about what I do is all the stuff I have to do to make sure we can have that great gig. I think it's just like the scheduling and the planning and figuring out what to say yes to and what to say no to. That can be a point of stress in my life, is sort of unknowing thing of whether or not I'm making the right decision for certain things. And
do you have criteria for that?
I do a little bit. Yeah.
How much of in that criteria, and I would imagine this might be the stress point, potential to lead to something else?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah. I mean, I think if you can kind of break it down into 3 categories. There's like the financial category.
Right.
There's the creative category. And then there's like the personal category.
Yeah.
So financial means it could pay well or maybe lead to something else.
Right.
Creative, it's really fun or it's not really fun. Personality, you're playing with people you like. Maybe you're playing with people that, you don't really have a relationship with. So usually if you can get like 2 out of 3 of those things with supposed variables, then you can do the work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's pretty consistent with what a lot of musicians.
It's different now with the family. I turn down a lot of stuff just because it's worth it more to me to hang out with with them on a Friday night than maybe do a gig that I don't necessarily need or maybe we really want to do or something. But
good for you.
Yeah, and I find that prioritizing that way, that something cooler usually ends up coming around anyway. Thankfully,
good for you.
And I don't say that as a point of arrogance or anything, but
no,
I've noticed that, like, if you put your family before stuff, other cooler stuff happens that benefits you and them.
Yeah.
So
do you ever get to bring your wife and daughter on the road with you?
Daughter, not yet, just because she's kind of wee and tiny. But I mean, eventually, yeah. Hopefully, once she starts walking, we will. My wife's come out a couple times though, so she's gotten to go to Scotland and London with me, and
That's beautiful
Holland.
there, isn't it?
Yeah, Holland. Scotland. She came to New Orleans a couple times, New York. So she's kind of San Francisco, so she can travel.
That's great, man. Yeah. Just gonna ask you three more questions. Okay. Who's had the biggest influence on you?
Just in general, or like in music, or
no, on your life?
Oh, man, probably my dad. To be honest, he got it right. I'm very thankful to have parents that everything's working, more or less.
Do they live near you, or are they out in the Bay Area?
They're actually moving here, I think.
Oh, I see you got the granddaughter now. It's hooked.
Oh man, they got hooked. Yeah, dude. So they're working on finding a place, not in Fort Worth, but probably outside. They've been in the suburbs of the Bay Area for so long that I think they want some space now.
Good. And your daughter's making a guest appearance here on the show.
Oh, get her on there.
Well, it's good that your folks are moving by. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, thanks.
What's your definition of happiness, Mark?
Man, if I can make a living doing the stuff I like to do with the people I like to do it with, I'm happy. And that's a pretty blanket statement, but, if I can support my family playing music that's inspiring to me with people that are inspiring to me, I feel like I'm successful.
Well, you're successful then, man.
Well, thanks. I hope so. I don't know. I've learned that I think if you can figure out what your own definition of success is, you can go get it. Mm-hmm. And if you find it, like if you really find it, a definition that you have to be honest with yourself and figure out how it applies to you, that's how the best way you can go get it. If you want to be a pop star, well, then you better want to go be a pop star.
What is your definition of success?
I think that's it. I think I said it.
Yeah, being able to support your family.
I mean, I think being able to take care of the things we need to, I think it's like now my priorities are like, can we put a second story on the house?
Yeah.
And what do I need to do to make that happen? Because eventually we're going to need to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And so like, that's the next, those kinds of goals and those kinds of like target things I need to hit are, how I approach my work and the work that I choose to take and the work that I choose to not take. And that's that kind of thing.
Well, man, I have one last question. It's just, what do you feel has been the biggest change in your personality over the last, I'm not going to say 10 years because you're too young. Let's say 5 years. Mm-hmm. And how much of that change has been deliberate and how much has just been a part of aging?
I don't know if my personality has really ever changed. I think maybe I'm a little bit more sensitive with my sarcasm now. Because I've had people say like, man, when I first met you, I thought you were a total jerk, but then I realized you were just being sarcastic.
Interesting. Yeah. Well,
so,
wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. But that was coming from my college years when everyone was we were just all crazy all the time.
Sure.
And so I grew up, in my 20s. Now I'm in my 30s and hopefully I'm probably still growing, but a little bit better than I was back then. You just mature, man, and I don't know if like having a kid necessarily has made me grow up or anything that specifically, but your priorities change a little bit as we talked about.
Yeah.
But I think I'm still kind of the same guy that I've always been, with polishing different parts as I get older.
Well, man, you're a great player. You're a hell of a nice guy. I'm really appreciating your time, and thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your story. I want to tell people how they could find you, and also when any of your new stuff comes out, if you want to come on the show and promote it and talk about it, the door's open for you to do that.
Thanks. That's awesome.
Okay, so first of all, you need to go to marklettieri.com. It's Mark, M-A-R-K, Lettieri, Lettieri.com. And you need to check out where Mark's going to be on tour with both Snarky Puppy and his trio. He's got a really good website, and he's super diligent about updating it, man, which is very impressive. So go on there and see when Mark's coming to your town and support him. He's a fantastic guitarist. And I'm not blowing smoke up his ass. He's a really good player, man. It's if you like funk and just good rock and roll, he's really got something to say. Also, his albums are on marklettieri.com, or you could find them on CD Baby. Support him, go buy his albums. And I want to ask him, because he could describe this better.
Sure.
He's got a transcription series he's done on soundslice.com. Do you want to talk about some of that?
Yeah, Soundslice is a really cool service that features all different kinds of artists with different instruments that do these kind of like multimedia style lessons. So when you download it, it's all digital and it's transcribed to the T, but the transcription itself is interactive. So you can speed stuff up, you can slow stuff down, you can play it backwards, I think, maybe even. So it's a really easy way to learn stuff. And a lot of the courses come with a video from the instructor explaining each part, demonstrating it, giving it additional content. And so I have a couple different packages on there. One of them is just a bunch of like Instagram videos that I did that got popular. So we transcribed those and then I explain the process behind them. Another one is this thing I did on Instagram called Groove School, which is 10 of these kind of more or less funk style grooves that I put up on Instagram, and now we transcribe them and I explain them. And then I have 2 more packages that cover some of my solo material from my records, which those, comes with videos of me explaining the songs and the process behind writing them and showing some extra techniques and stuff like that. So they're really cool. It's been cool. I think a lot of people are benefiting from them.
That's great. So. And I think you can probably adjust the speed on there without necessarily impacting the pitch as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is where it's really cool.
Yeah. The other thing you can do is you can loop sections. So if there's just a riff you want to nail, you can just loop it and play it over and over again until you get it.
At whatever speed you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great, man. And that's on soundslice.com. Again, just go look up Mark Lettieri on there. It's Lettieri. Mm-hmm. And he has a new signature overdrive pedal.
Yeah.
Rocketpedals.com. And how did that process all work?
Well, I've been a friend of I say friends because we were actually friends first when they were located in Texas. And we would have these hangs called gear and beer hangs where, each guy would bring a 6-pack and their favorite piece of gear, and we would just drink beer and just plug in stuff and make noise, and all the wives would leave. So I was doing those with them, and playing their pedals because they were the best sounding overdrives in the world. I think I met them in 2010, so I've known those guys for 8 years, and have been playing their pedals and talking about them, and being sort of an unofficial sales guy, I guess. And they were doing this EQ series where it's a pedal with a volume and gain and a 6-band EQ instead of a tone knob. And they were like, well, I think we're able to give you a pedal now. Not that I was asking them for one.
Sure.
But they were like, I think we can do this and make it, maybe sell a couple of them. And so we came up with the concept of how we wanted it to sound and what it would be based off of. And did a couple iterations of it. I think we're 3.0, I think, is the one that is now for sale.
That's great.
But they got it right the first time. We just tweaked a few different things, and it's really cool.
What do you like most about it from an overdrive standpoint? How is it different from the average overdrive? You
can get any tone out of it you want. And when I say tone, I really generally mean frequency. The pedal itself, the tone is a warm, I'm going to use all the buzzwords, warm, chewy, pleasing,
chunky,
compressed, chunky, smooth, blah, blah, blah. But it is. Because all of the Rocket stuff is kind of like that. Really, here we go. Musical, organic, true bypass. All those things. And so we took the concept of 2 of their pedals, the Dude pedal and the Blue Note, which were 2 of my favorite ones. And then they had this other one called the Majestic, which actually has a slightly more of a British sound to it. But they kind of combined the 3 of those together and put it in this box. and now it's the Mark Lettieri Melody Overdrive, and I find it super useful because a lot of times I don't get to play the amps that I want to play, and so I need something that'll EQ to the room, it'll EQ to the guitar, it'll EQ to the amp itself, but it also sounds amazing with my own amps, so it's not going anywhere for a while.
And if you go to Rocket Pedals, which is ROCKETT pedals.com, I'm assuming there's a video on there of you demoing the pedal?
Yep.
Great. Awesome.
There it is.
So check out the Mark Lettieri Melody Signature Overdrive pedal from Rocket Pedals, and send Mark money and buy his stuff.
There you go. Yes. Just give me money. Just send money.
Support Mark. He's a good working musician. And he's an awesome guitar player. Hey, man, I really appreciate your time. Any final words of wisdom?
Oh, I don't know. Go Niners.
Go Niners. There you go. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Craig, thanks, man. Yeah, you too, bud.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. And thanks again to Mark Lettieri for spending time with us. Check him out on the road with his own trio or with Snarky Puppy at marklettieri.com. And go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified of future episodes along with early product announcements and discounts. And remember, happiness is a choice. So make good choices here, man. Be nice, go play a guitar, and have some fun. Till next time, peace and love. And as Dave Chappelle says, I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.